Hi, my name is Ted Mackel, and I'm the author of HomeBuysBlog.com. I'm an active real estate agent. I work in Simi Valley, Moore Park, the Conejo Valley, and the West San Fernando Valley. I help buyers and sellers, and there was a great question on Trulia Voices about short sales. So I'm going to kind of cut to the chase. YouTube only gives us 10 minutes and try and really hit the high points, or as a buyer, what you need to be aware of in the short sales. Also, when I go through the short sale denim, please understand I'm going to hit the highlights from each paragraph because of time constraints. That you really need to get down into the nitty-gritty with your agent that's representing you. If the agent hasn't at least given you a cursory explanation, as I have in this video, I highly recommend that you get out there and start interviewing agents. These transactions are highly tricky, and if you're dealing with people who don't understand what's going on, your deposit money can be put at risk, or you could spend a lot of time wasted waiting around for a sale that may never get approved. So the main form as a buyer that you're going to be dealing with is the short sale addendum, which is going to become part of your residential purchase agreement. So if you look at across the top, the basic information on the form is standard on most. It becomes this addendum on the purchase agreement. It has the address of the property and the parties involved. This is all very, very standard. Section A, briefly to explain this date over here, this October 1st, 2010, this date is very important in certain circumstances, in that what you put in here will communicate to the sellers how serious you are about trying to purchase this property. And if you have a very short date, say like 2 weeks, maybe even 30 days, it really is communicating over to the sellers, at least sellers agents that are experienced with short sales, that you are not very serious about waiting, or that you're not very patient. And so generally, if this is a house that you really like, going 45 and even 60 days on this approval date really communicates over that you want this property and you're willing to wait. Remember that this date is just telling the seller that you will wait this long to see if they can get a written consent from the people who are going to go short, or the lenders or lien holders that are going to go short. That doesn't mean that you typically have to go through with the contract by that date, nor does it mean that the contract is done when you get to October 2nd, because as of October 2nd, if you don't come up with a new agreement, then you're kind of going at will on both sides. But this really, sets kind of some boundaries, and hopefully gets the sellers out there working as hard as they can. But you have to understand, every short sale lender is different. I have gotten approvals in 3 weeks, I've got approvals in 6 weeks, and it's taken a couple months to get other approvals. So there is no particular rule of thumb how these happen or how fast they'll happen. So this is really a communication tool. Under Section B, this is another important part of the contract, because your time periods for your inspections and contingencies, which means appraisal contingency, loan contingencies, things like that, typically start when you open escrow. Well, what I caution people is if you don't have an agreement from the short sale lien holders or lenders, you could spend a lot of time, effort, and money doing inspections and going through a lot of rigmarole, and then find out later that you can't, or the seller can't get approval for the short sale. So by checking off this first checkbox in Section B1, we're saying, hey, we want all these contingencies to start once we get approval from the lenders. That's a written approval. And so this is an important thing to have checked off if you're buying these properties. Second is the deposit under number 2, and this is the same thing. You want your check to be held uncashed until that approval letter comes in. Now, there's a couple schools of thought on if you should open escrow with a check, and does that show more seriousness? Well, there's not a lot that escrow can do with your check, or the seller can do with your check, until that written approval comes in. Escrow typically is not going to start generating things that are going to cost money before the approval comes in, but every escrow operates differently. So if you do have a check in under Section D, you could incur some costs if you have to cancel or ask for the check back. So I like to hold these out. It does impact a little bit on seriousness, but not typically detrimental. And what you have to be concerned with all these check boxes, if you have competing offers and someone really wants a house more, they may be willing to be a little more risky and roll the dice on some of these items. So this is all a level of where you stomach risk. Please understand under Section C that there's going to be no assurance of lender approval. And this means that even though we're waiting and waiting and waiting, the lender may not agree to the short sale. They may agree to the short sale and want you to come up with more money, or the seller to come up with some money, or the seller to take on some liability after the sale, or the seller to sign a promissory note. And until that written agreement comes in and the seller agrees to it, and if there's no conditions to the buyer and the buyer agrees to it, there is no sale until that all gets taken care of and everyone agrees to it. Also know that under Section E that there could be other offers that come in. Typically these will be held in backup position, but because it is a short sale and the short sale lender, they want to minimize their costs and what kind of hit they're going to take, there could be other offers that come in. Also, the seller needs to get out and make sure they're getting the proper credit, legal, and tax advice. Same for the buyers. This is very important because there are a lot of landmines in these short sales for the sellers, which are too much to go in detail here. But this is the whole point of this document, is to keep everyone better informed, keep some structure to this waiting period, because that's what you typically do in a short sale, is you wait for these short sale lenders to give a written approval and move forward from that point. If you have any more questions, please feel free to post them in the comments on the blog, or you can email them directly to me, or contact me through my Trulia profile. And also be sure on homebuysblog.com, under the category section, go into the short sale category. There's some really good information there on understanding these short sales from both a seller's side and a buyer's side. And I really want to thank you for taking time for watching the video and becoming a little better informed. Have a great day.